Hey gang, welcome to another live episode of TogChat. I'm Joe Edelman. I'm going to be your host for the next 90 minutes of talk all about photography. And since it's Thursday, tonight is a marketing night. So we're going to be focusing on marketing for photographers. In fact, in this episode, we're going to go to both sides of the pond. We're going to go ahead and review websites from a photographer in the United Kingdom and also a photographer and makeup artist couple in the United States. So first of all, let me apologize to all of you who, turn out for these marketing videos every Thursday night that I was not here last Thursday night. Unfortunately, at this TogChat time last Thursday, I was sitting in a really cold airport in Detroit, Michigan. So there was a big snowstorm here on the East Coast last Thursday, so my original flight out of Las Vegas was canceled. I had to reschedule flights, try and get a later flight so they had time to clear the runways and open up the airport again. And unfortunately, that left me sitting in Detroit during my connection time. So that's why we missed TogChat. My apologies. Obviously, I need to plan ahead a little bit more for those kind of contingencies. And hey, I could have done it from the airport. So we'll work on that next time if there ever is another next time that I get stuck in an airport during TogChat. So obviously, I was out at WPPI last week. I got to meet quite a few of you out there. One of the things that I wanted to just mention to you guys that I thought was really a cool thing about WPPI this year, and I'm bringing it up now because it's not about camera gear and it's not about photo labs. There was a huge technology presence at WPPI in terms of the exhibitors. There were software companies, a lot of CRM companies. So let me explain what CRM is for those of you that don't matter. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager. And basically what it is, it's software that allows you to really keep notes and keep track of your customers and your interaction with your clients. The better software will also help you with invoicing and billing and even bookkeeping. So for those of you, especially if you're trying to, get a studio started or if you're just getting going full time, hopefully it goes without saying, do not overlook the importance of, number one, the bookkeeping, and number two, the customer relationships. One of the big mistakes that photographers make when they're starting out or when they're deeper into their careers and they're just kind of getting burned out is they don't really maintain a great customer relationship. And that's incredibly important. So, for example, one of the bigger ones that was out there was a company called 17 Hats, and you can find them at 17hats.com. They're not sponsoring this tonight. I'm just mentioning them. I'm familiar with their program. On the big scale of CRM programs, they're not one of the bigger ones. They're one of the more well-known companies, but they're perfect for small business. Okay. Other companies that you might want to look into if you have some bigger needs, probably one of the more popular ones is a company called Zoho, Z-O-H-O. But bottom line is this, keep track of your customers, keep track of your potential customers. In other words, somebody filled out a contact form on your website and you sent them back some information and you haven't heard back from them. Hopefully, you don't just email people back when they send you a contact form. Hopefully, you actually call them. On those things we call phones, right? So it's always best to have that conversation. But you should be keeping notes, keeping track of those relationships and making sure that you're following up. So it was really cool, actually, to see that at WPPI. There were software companies that were providing, the CRM relationship tools. There were web hosting companies there. There were even some website design companies there. So there was really like a really good kind of business support element to what they were, displaying at WPPI. So honestly, just one more reason to try and make it to some of these larger photography events because it's one of those scenarios where basically you are able to see things firsthand, touch it, try it, sample it, and talk to the people that know it inside out and backwards. And that's always much more useful than, of course, having to type into those little chat windows, on the company's website. So, something that I would highly recommend. Troy's asked me, why the business shirt today? You're all dressed up. Now, I consider this dressed down, Troy. Honestly, the reason why I don't have one of my fancy shirts on is because they're all at the dry cleaners. That's it. So I was actually really bummed. One of the places where I buy those shirts, there used to be this cool little store on the Strip in Las Vegas that was about a block down from the MGM. So purposely, my son and I went out of our way to make sure that we went to where that store was because I was going to pick up a shirt or two. And it's not there anymore. Like, they're building something else. I was like seriously bummed. So I have other places I can get the shirts, but I literally had every intention of picking up a new shirt while I was in Vegas, and didn't happen. So anyway, my alternative look, the other Joe look, if I don't have one of those shirts on, it's a bright shirt and a bright tie, and a lot of times a vest, but I was just kind of too lazy to put the vest on tonight. So back to marketing, okay? So I will be putting out a video this weekend that is about WPPI, and really broader, it's about why you should consider these events. But part of the reason why I wanted to get out to WPPI this year was to be able to shoot a little bit of video so that those of you that are not close to one of these events, or those of you that have never attended one, can really get a sense of what's there. And I want to really, kind of break it down. Because believe me, it's not just all about the gear or even the software. There's also some great learning opportunities there, and a lot of free great learning opportunities there. I mean, at WPPI, you could have seen demos and lectures by Sue Bryce, by Tamara Lackey, by Joe McNally, lots of people, and the list goes on. So, and all of that's without doing the paid portion of the educational track. So a lot of really great stuff. So that'll be this week's video that's coming out. We are again sponsored tonight, which is really nice, by the folks at Dot Space. So obviously, I'd like to thank them for continuing to sponsor what we're doing here on TogChat and being big supporters of it. If you've watched my videos about websites and domain names for photographers, you'll remember I've talked about the fact that the Dot Space domain extension was basically created for creatives. So it's a great alternative to .com. There is a link in the description section below where you can go and search for your .space domain name, and also to be able to register. And if you hang around until the end, I've got 5 free 1-year .space domain name registrations that I'll be giving out when we do the Q&A section at the end of the evening. So hang tight. And I'll tip you off too, I've got one more of those JPEG Mini licenses available. And actually, that was the other cool thing for me. I got to meet the folks from JPEG Mini while I was out at WPPI. I also made a couple other connections that are going to pay off for us in a couple of weeks in terms of some things that we're going to be able to do some videos about and some new sponsorships. So overall, it was a really good trip for me. It kind of sucked. I was sick the whole time. But in terms of what I wanted to accomplish, it went really, really well. So enough chit-chat. I want to dig in here because we have got 2 really big websites to take a look at tonight, okay? So remember, if you're building a website, or if you have a website, or if you are, in business or trying to get into business and you would like to have your website reviewed. If you've seen a few of these by now, I haven't crucified anybody. I'm not going to rip somebody to shreds. If you haven't seen one, stick around and watch and you'll see. But if you would like your website reviewed, the link is in the description below, or you can jot it down right here. It is tog.chat/ and I gave you the link for photo review. I'm sorry, there it is, web review, okay? That's the one that you need. So tog.chat/web review. You'll be asked to fill out 3 really simple questions, which I'll tell you what they are in a second. And then you'll give me the link to your website, and your website will go into the queue to be reviewed, okay? So if it's something that you're interested in having done, take a few seconds after TogChat tonight, fill out your information, and submit it. So we're going to go across the pond, as they say, first, and we're going to go to a photographer who is in Saxmundham, the United Kingdom. So if I'm not mistaken, this is an area that's north of London in England. This gentleman is named Bob Foyers, okay? So I ask all of the people that submit websites to me to answer 3 very simple questions. The reason it's only 3, and the reason I don't talk to them in advance and I don't consult with them in advance, is that I want to be able to view the website as if I were a potential customer without a lot of bias. But there is some basic information that is going to help me, obviously, do the review. So the first question is, I ask people to give me just a little bit of background about themselves. So Bob tells me that he owns a bistro with his wife, and he is trying to move towards a full-time career in photography. His wife runs the bistro, and he's self-taught. The second question they answer for me is, tell me about the website. So in this case, he's built a custom version of it's called a Genius. I think he meant Genesis, child theme. But it might have been an autocorrect here, but it sounds to me like it's supposed to be a Genesis child theme, which is a WordPress type website. So that basically means that Bob is maintaining his own website. And also, like his photography, he's self-taught in website building. And then the last question is, basically, why are you submitting your website? What do you want me to help you accomplish? So Bob basically is looking to grow his business over the next 2 years. He set himself a 2-year goal so that he can essentially leave the wife to her business and he can go and build up his full-time, and then they have 2 incomes. That's a great goal. So that being said, at first pass, as we come to Bob's website, we see that he has got a .photography domain name, which works. So it's Foyers.photography. It's intuitive. Doesn't really need a tag. He doesn't use a tagline, and certainly it doesn't need a tagline with a name like that. That's all great. Okay. We've got a pretty solid set of links across the top: about me, testimonials, rates, journal, behind the scenes, client answer, and contact. So there's a lot of options on this website. Portfolios is the first word that hits us. And then we've got weddings, portraits, commercial. Okay? So we've got a very nice picture of a very happy, relaxed bride. It's, I'm guessing it's probably a bridal portrait, not necessarily a wedding day photo. That doesn't really matter. I will say, I'm sorry, Jarek, the URL. For those of you that can't read it on the screen, it's Foyers.photography. So that's Foyers. Foyers.photography. So I would suggest, Bob, right off the top, and guys, as I always do, I'm going to be kind of nitpicky in the sense of trying to help you guys get to the next level. And with marketing, it's always about make things intuitive, but also streamline them and make them easy. Okay? So I would actually suggest that you could eliminate the word portfolios, because what you don't want to do is you don't want somebody to read the word portfolios and say, oh, he shoots portfolios. It's definitely intuitive when you've got boxes like this with weddings, portraits, commercial, that these are probably going to be clickable and, people can click on them to go inside. So I don't think, in my opinion, that you need to basically say, hey, here's a portfolio. So that would be my main advice for the homepage. The only thing that I would suggest that you might want to consider, Bob, this site uses cookies and the more info link. I would honestly go ahead and eliminate that. On one hand, it's very nice that you are explaining that and kind of giving that warning for those people that are very security conscious, etc. But to tell you the truth, I would leave it out, because sadly, there are still people that are really paranoid, don't understand what a cookie is, and they're not going to take the time to read your more info. They're going to say, oh my God, cookies, and they're going to be gone. And you don't want that to happen. What I would encourage you to do, it looks like you're running HTTP. You are. So you've got your site set up on HTTPS. For those of you that don't know the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, hang in there. I'll chat about it a little bit later, okay? But I would go ahead and I would encourage you to eliminate that, because it is going to actually scare a few people away. Okay, so the only thing that I would like to see added to your homepage, and this is kind of one of those things, if there's any page on your website where you could get away with not having it, it would be the homepage. But that's your social media links. Now that I've given that piece of advice and I've misled everybody intentionally, what we don't see clearly is that there's a lot more to this page. Now, unfortunately, what you guys can't see on my screen, so in full disclosure, on the right-hand side, there is, that little thermometer bar that tells you can scroll down. But the reason why I didn't want to address that is that most people don't pay attention to that bar. So you'll have to trust me that it's there, but you can see there's more that we can scroll, okay? So what Bob has done, which is very wise, he's picked a theme and a design that looks excellent at 1280 by 1024 pixels. So if you've seen any of these talk chats about marketing before, you've heard me talk about the fact that the most commonly viewed browser size on the internet, these are statistics provided by Google and others, is 1280 wide by 1024 tall. So the challenge that we all have when we put a website together, whether you're using a template, whether you're building your own like Bob is that you have no control over the browser dimensions of the person who is looking at your website. Not to mention, we're talking about, responsive site design and all of those things and, mobile devices between phones and tablets. So you have to at least make sure that you're functional on the standard sizes. So the site looks great, but there's a lot more to it. So the reason why I did that and kind of misled all of you, like, oh, that's it for the homepage, and then came back to it. When I find for me, if there's a lot more that is down below, I would actually like to see you end this homepage image a little taller, literally so that people understand, hey, there's more stuff there. They don't have to see more stuff. It doesn't have to say, like, scroll down for more. Those are all horrible ideas, okay? But if we end it, you guys can see where I'm going to run my mouse. If we were to end this image right in around here, which might mean, maybe this particular image isn't the best fit if it's not any wider or if it's going to look weird cropped that low. If we do that, there's going to be enough white space and then potentially the headline from the next section coming up where it's going to be fairly obvious there's more to the page. So as much as this is it's a beautiful presentation, having that little bit of space for the purpose of, shall we say, dummy proofing, I would really encourage you to do that. And as is the case with most of these kind of one-page and or parallax designs, a lot of what's coming up below is also available on these links. So certainly Bob could argue, well, if they miss it below here, they'll click on the links and they'll see it. Yeah, that's a fair argument, but at the same time, if you make sure that everything is visible all the way around, you don't have to rely on the links for people to see the information if they've missed it on the home page, okay? So if we scroll down, we've got a nice little title. He's using the area in here for SEO, and he's basically being very specific. He's a wedding and commercial photographer. I like the fact, Bob, that you've written it in the first person and even the little initial signature. That is both good and important. I would encourage you to, number one, do away with the "hi, thank you for looking at my website" thing. Like, we want to create a balance. We always want to sound polite and we want to sound like a nice person, but those are just kind of like wasted words, and it's like wasted politeness. Take them out. I would start with my name is Bob Foyers and I live in Saxmundham, Suffolk with my wife Karen, etc. Okay, I would absolutely do that. By the way, if you have a website for your bistro, make that a link right there. Absolutely, it's in the family. Okay, because you're talking kind of about your family. Now, I've been a full-time professional for almost 5 years. Remove that, Bob. That, for me, is a great reason not to hire you to photograph my wedding. 5 years compared to maybe a photographer that's got 10 or 20 years experience. So based on that criteria, now when I go back to your website, if your work is not the most amazing stuff I have ever seen, 5 years is not loads of experience. Because what you're also not really saying here in this sentence is, okay, well, I've been taking pictures for 20 years, but no, you're basically just giving me a 5-year number. So what I've got in my head now is that you take pictures for 5 years, period. Okay? I wouldn't talk about other types of photography except for the type of photography you're selling, period. Again, just a suggestion, keep focus. Talk about a little bit about who you are away from photography. What do you do for fun? And literally your life away from photography, maybe at the bistro. That's cool, but focus on that and build that out a little bit more. The way that you finish, I like to meet and discuss in an informal way, all that kind of stuff. That's excellent. Well done there. It's casual. It's kind of low key. I would definitely say keep that type of thing. But I think that, a little bit more attention to this would actually be very, very beneficial. Remember, when you're dealing with brides, there's a lot at stake for them. Not just the money, but there's a lot at stake. So they want to know who you are. They want to know about the person. And the other thing I would say about your headshot, which we're going to look at it when I click the About Me link in a minute, but a little happier, okay? So we'll come back to that. And then these are basically beginnings of blog posts. So I'm going to look at those when we get to your journal, and also some videos. So we're going to come to that. So all this is great. When we get down to the bottom, now we have the social media links way down here. So they are there, in all fairness to Bob, since I said before I really wish they were there, but they're way, way down here at the bottom. So I would encourage you to see if you can't tweak your theme a little bit, get them all the way up at the top. I think that would definitely be, very beneficial. And the personal projects thing, I don't know that I would put that on the homepage. We'll kind of come back and we'll discuss that. Login links. I hate login links. Login links to me are like inviting somebody to try and hack you. So I would hope if you're going to leave that link there, or if for some reason you have to leave that link there, I would hope that you are using really strong usernames and passwords. Okay. I will tell you that on my WordPress site, which is my blog. So that's the joeedelman.photography. And of course, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to basically invite people to try and hack me. But number one, if you try to find the login address, because for those of you that don't know, in WordPress, the login address for every WordPress website in the world is exactly the same. Unless the website owner has changed that. So mine is not the normal website address. So if someone were to find my login page for WordPress, my username and password are each 22 characters long with a combination of special characters, numbers, and upper and lowercase letters. So it's kind of like good luck anybody getting into that, okay? To me, whenever I see this login, it's really like, it's like inviting it. Designed and developed by Bob Foyers. So you're a web designer too. I would take that out. You should be proud of your website. You've done a really nice job here, Bob. But you want people to hire you for your photography. Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So be careful. That's actually the same reason why I suggested take out even just the mention of the kinds of photography that you like to do for fun. You want to sound very focused on the work that you do. You've done the copyright properly. It's amazing how many people do the copyright notice wrong. They will every year just have the current year for the copyright. The proper way, and it is the same in Great Britain as it is here in the United States, by the way, for those of you that might be thinking it's different in the two countries. No, it's the same. The proper way to do the copyright is from the year that the website was first launched to the current year. So that you do indeed change the current year every year. But you start with the year that the website was launched, okay? I've got a question here about thoughts on the side floating social media. I have no problem with floating social media links or side floating social media links, as long as they're not like overlapping the content and like huge and like really kind of, shall we say, in the way. I have no problem with that at all. I would avoid, let me take one small kind of a quarter step back from that now, okay? I would avoid using the floating social media links on your portfolio pages where people are supposed to be just looking at your pictures. But like in a blog and that type of stuff, oh, heck yes. Absolutely. No reason not to. Okay. I also do like your choice, Bob, to have the main navigation locked in place. So no matter where I am on the page, I can get to any of the other pages on the website, which is a very good design element. So if we click into the About page, the first thing we find out is that Bob is 14 years old. So I would put your current photo up top, Bob, and I will tip you all off. He does have his current photo here. It's down here, but we'll get to that, okay? So I would number one, get your photo up top. Again, the hello and thank you and all that stuff, wasted time. Don't waste my time, okay? The website isn't about me. It's rather all about what I can do for you. Honestly, feel free to say my love of photography began when I was 14 and talk about your time in the Royal Navy, because even in Britain, just like here, being a vet, that's a good thing, okay? So absolutely talk about that. And it's okay to mention that you started as a chef, because that's what led, I'm sure, to your bistro and that kind of stuff. Just leave out the specific statement, and I don't actually know if you have it on this page. Let me see if you do. Yeah, I don't see the statement on this page about having been professional for 5 years. So that's perfect. That's the piece you just want to leave out, okay? The fact that you've got your phone number at the bottom, the email address. This email address should be clickable, as should the words contact me. Okay, so the words contact me are clickable, but the email address should be clickable so that they can get to that right away. So my current camera bag, I'm not sure why you have a link here to your current camera bag. A lot of photographers do this. So I'll admit, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine in the sense that I guarantee you, your bride doesn't give a damn what's in your camera bag. Like, simply doesn't. So you always have to remember, who is my website for? Period. So I would definitely at least move that link somewhere else, but I don't see the value in having that link at all. Your picture is huge, Bob. Make it smaller. You want to be able to, like, I can't fit it all on one screen, okay? And I mean, seriously, Bob, you're a good-looking guy, man. Smile. All right? Put a little personality into your shot, okay? I really think that would be very, very valuable and important. Okay. So get a little bit more personality in there. The style of the shot, the way you've done it, all that, very, very good, but just, get me some personality. Okay. So, let's move on to testimonials. Testimonials are really, really, really important. Now, since I'm familiar with how WordPress works, I'm also confident that Bob is using a plugin to do his testimonials. Which basically means it's a little piece of extra software that fits into the website, where instead of you having to know HTML and kind of formatting this whole page, literally you open up a thing that says testimonials, and then you just type it in and type the person's name in, and it formats it just like you see it here. So it kind of streamlines the process. It's like having a Photoshop plugin, okay? The only thing I would really kind of discourage you from doing here, Bob, I don't think there's value to having these social media links with the testimonials. I'm willing to bet that if you go back and you check your analytics, people are not sharing these quotes, because people generally don't share testimonials. The only people that usually share testimonials are the people that the testimonial is about. And you don't need that link to do that. So what happens is the testimonial's up here and the attribution for the testimonial is down here. So I would literally go ahead and turn that piece off in your plugin so that, this kind of all goes together. But here's the thing about testimonials. And do keep in mind, you've already got your social media links at the bottom. So they're still there. The thing you have to understand about testimonials, gang, everybody needs them. If you're a photographer and you're trying to make money and you're trying to grow your business, you need testimonials. In fact, I'll tell you a little bit about how you can get testimonials. It's not that hard, assuming that you've done some work that's, made people happy, okay? But you need the testimonials. However, understand that your potential clients frequently take testimonials with a grain of salt. Oftentimes, your potential clients look at testimonials the same way Donald Trump looks at the news. They think they're fake. So just having a testimonial is not really what you need. By each one of these testimonials should be a photograph, small. You don't need to make it big. Remember, this is not the portfolio page. But by every one of these testimonials should be a photograph from that job. And it should be a really good picture from that job. That adds a little bit more of the proof to the testimonial. Okay? So that's really the big thing that I would encourage you to add there is get a picture in there with each of those testimonials. And I think they're going to be a lot more powerful for you. So when we hit the rates thing, suddenly now, and by the way, I want you guys to notice, like all of these links are single links. And then we hit the rates and it's like, whoo, wow, look, 4 pages of rates. That worries me. And full disclosure, I have not gone and clicked through these yet. So I really do try to hit these websites with as little prep as possible so that you guys are, getting the first impressions of what I'm seeing. So that worries me. The fact that it says Suffolk wedding photography prices, that's clearly an attempt at gaining some ground for search engines. Take that out. Make it simply wedding rates or commercial rates or portrait shoots. Thin it down. Don't have that much text in your menu at all. There's no benefit, and there's no benefit to trying to gain SEO favor in your links. Don't do that, okay? So if we click on this first one, what do we get? So we get full day wedding packages starting from $1,200. Good. So we don't get a full list. You've just turned customers away with this, Bob. I understand. I totally understand the thought process that photographers go through when they do this, but I wouldn't do it. If somebody is kind of on the fence, but they're not sure what's going on yet and that, you've just said, you know what, he's going to book up, so I'll go find somebody else. Take that off. Because what's the worst that can happen? You don't warn people that you're running out of open dates. Somebody contacts you for a Saturday in July and you're booked. If you're smart, you're not saying to people, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Good luck. That's not the response you give. You better be able to recommend a photographer who is equally as good, if not better than you, and suggest that they call that photographer and tell that photographer that you sent them. Even if you can't do the job, provide good customer service. So by taking this warning out, you're actually inviting the possibility that even if you don't get a gig, you're going to be able to provide good customer service and build a relationship with another photographer in your area who may someday run into the exact same problem that you have at that moment and send someone back to you. So take that out altogether. The fact that you're doing a starting price, that's fine. As long as all your prices are not here, I would be very upset if that was the case. So I like the fact that you had the military discount. Now, I will say I talk about this a lot here in the U.S., Bob. Here in the U.S., it's finally like a big deal to be a veteran. Should have been that way for many, many years. I don't know exactly, and I have British relatives. My mother was a World War II baby. I don't have a good pulse on how veterans are being treated and perceived in Great Britain at the moment. But I will say, if it's anything like it is here in the U.S., this 20% off for Her Majesty's Armed Forces should be a headline all the way up here at the top of the page, and it should be a link. For those of you that understand HTML, you know what a target tag is. It should be a target tag. For those of you that don't know what HTML is, it's really easy to do. Just Google it. Target HTML tag. Basically what it is up here at the top. Let me go back. What did that say again? 20% off for Her Majesty's Armed Forces. So up here at the top, you would read the words 20% off for Her Majesty's Armed Forces, and you would be able to click on it. And when you click on it, the page would immediately scroll down and it would stop right there. So it basically is a link that runs to a target, okay? So, again, depending on kind of the climate and the attitude towards the military, I would think that it's probably very similar to here in the U.S., but I do know for a fact that British military has always been treated really much better than, unfortunately, American vets have. So, for any photographer here in the U.S., especially photographers, I reviewed a website the other week from a gentleman that's near a military base, has a lot of military clientele, and really pushed him, get that military message right up front. The same goes if you are a former military, which you are, Bob, depending on, again, how that is dealt with in Great Britain at this point. Photographers that are veterans, I explain to people, make sure that you raise that up the flagpole every opportunity that you get. It's not abusing this situation. It's not taking advantage of the situation. It's honestly getting what is owed you in terms of respect. And if that means you're taking advantage of it, then great, take advantage of it, because that's how it should be. And Troy just corrected me, and I hate it when Troy's right, but you're right. I was calling it a target tag. It's actually called an anchor tag. So that is what you want to Google, is anchor tag, or Google anchor tag HTML, and that way you'll come up in the first couple of links, you'll find exactly how to create that tag. So even if you're using like a templated site like Squarespace or Format, the company that I use, they allow you to do HTML modifications like in your about page, or if you create a rates page. So you'll still be able to create an anchor tag even if they don't have a shortcut version to do it, okay? So it's worth looking up. So, all in all, I mean, this is good in the sense, Bob, that you've got a lot of detail here that gives a kind of an overview of your packages. You've kept them short. If these paragraphs were any longer, I would be encouraging you to really, kind of reduce the length of them. You want to keep this page an easy read. The only thing that worries me right here, for weekday weddings, etc., we've got a cheaper package. I don't know that I would, well, number one, I wouldn't put it as a 2017 pricing option. And I'm not even sure that I put like the full price, because the way I read this, the price is 500 pounds or 495 pounds. And then there's this other version where I read 595 pounds. So now I've gone from 1,200 pounds to 495 pounds to 595 pounds. Oh, wait, but is that this year? Is that next year? Way too much information. Literally, what I would put here is a big headline. I would take out this entire paragraph, put a big headline that says, for weekday weddings, excluding bank holidays, we offer special discounted or special priced packages. Contact us for more information. Remember, you never want to give people enough detail to make a final purchasing decision, whether it's a purchasing decision to buy or not to buy. You never want to give them the information they need to make a final purchase decision on your website. So really, I mean, that's important. This paragraph right here is important, but yet I got to get all the way down to here. So we could actually argue that it might be a good headline to have up here right now, where you have that availability for summer 2017, and I told you to take that line out. That actually would probably be even better than what I just suggested. Put that headline right up here that says, we have special discounted rates for weekday weddings, excluding bank holidays, whatever, but make it fit on one line. And it's literally, contact us for information. And the reason why I like it even better up here is because this way, in the third line of your page, you're suggesting that people contact you. Because as it is right now, I've got to get all the way down to the bottom before we start talking about contact, okay? And when you are telling me to contact, you're not giving me a way to do it. So you just gave me a direction, or I should say a request. Please contact me. But I can't click to get to the contact page. There's no phone number. There's no email address, okay? So, and this information right here, I got to tell you honestly, this information is kind of redundant. Now you're telling me, but I'm going to charge you more for this, and I'll only do this. And copyright information says, oh, there's a lot of rules. Copyright information doesn't matter until they've hired you. So that should be part of kind of the final proposal that you're going to send them. So literally most of this, this should all go away. Literally all that should go away. You might want to mention that you cover Suffolk and Norfolk and you're happy to travel. Don't talk about what it's going to cost. Don't do any of that. But I would maybe put that information up near the top in one of those bullet points. But other than that, it's like it's an afterthought. It's like, oh, by the way. And I realize that a big part of what you're doing here, Bob, is SEO stuff. Maybe leave this in, but here you've got below are my guide prices. But I don't see that at all. So you need to really clean this piece up. Remember, less is better, okay? All right, so we've got the journal, which essentially is a blog. In fact, it even says a blog. So I would actually suggest calling it a blog. Now, here's your opportunity, though, to say, no, Joe, it needs to be a journal. If for some reason in Great Britain, everybody calls a blog a journal, because, it's like the trunk of a car is a boot, that kind of stuff, an umbrella's a brolly. If it's one of those things, okay, keep it as a journal, all right? But if a blog is a blog, even in Great Britain, call it a blog. Your URL is a blog, make this a blog, not journal. Because journal, to me, is like, this is what I did yesterday, and this is what I did the day before, and this is what I did the day before that. So I would keep it blog, unless in the UK, journal's a blog, okay? So these are actually really nice. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because I want to keep moving, but I took a look at these earlier, and these are great. You talk about the job. You talk a little bit about the person in the job. You talk a little bit about your experience with them. You guys hear me talk all the time about blogs. Talk about your experience with your client. That's what makes you interesting. So for those of you that are watching and have the link, check out Bob's journal/blog. He did a really good job here. You do show a lot of images, Bob. I would say that you could maybe trim down the number of images a bit, but it's really well done. Your blog posts are very nice. These single ones like this, which is obviously the woman that we just saw, I don't know that I would run this. I have a feeling that this is potentially something that auto-posted from Instagram or something like that, but this doesn't have a lot of value. But when you're doing your longer description ones, which there's some more on the following pages, those are great. These really short ones are pointless. They're completely pointless. There's no value to them. If you're below 300 words on a blog post, Google doesn't give a damn. They don't care. So there's no point having it. And, basically, when I look at this picture, what does this tell me about working with Bob? It doesn't tell me anything at all. The picture's dark, it's a snapshot, and that's okay, but if it's part of his story. So that's what you guys, you really want to focus on that. This I found really, really interesting. So I'm not going to play all of these, gang, but what Bob does, which is awesome, here, let's at least, we'll play one. And hopefully you're going to get the audio on this. So you guys give me some quick feedback if you don't get the audio. But he does these little behind-the-scenes videos of all of his shoots. And it's actually a really great idea. If you've got the time to do something like this, kind of cool, okay? So I'm just going to let a little piece of it play because it's like a 3-minute video. The only thing that I would suggest that you maybe do with these, Bob, is actually put a little bit of voiceover, some of them. The couple that I clicked on were basically all like music, in the background, that type of thing. If you put a little bit of voiceover on them, you can kind of do a verbal blog, i.e. vlog, where you're talking about how much fun you had doing the shoot, what was involved, etc. I will say, Bob, that you kind of get into, there was no audio in that, Doug? Okay, and sorry about that, guys, but basically you'll have to take my word for it. You can go click one yourself. He plays music through them, and it's really nice. They're well done. He shows a lot of his Photoshop work. So the thing you have to understand is that these aren't really attracting clients. If you're going to start teaching photography classes or doing workshops, Bob, or even doing Photoshop work, then these are really great pieces. But the fact that you're setting up cameras, you're shooting what's going on in the studio, and that, really, really well done. Again, I stress to a lot of you guys, video is incredibly important. Use it, okay? And we click on the client area. this is where basically he posts his proofs. You can go in and you can look at them. Requires username, password. That's all pretty standard. That's fine. I'm not gonna dig into that. However, when I get into the client area, the problem is that he's not using his WordPress site anymore. He's using PixieSet. So I've left his website. So that being said, and PixieSet's fine. I have no problem with that. What I would encourage you to do though, Bob, is I would encourage you to make this link open a new browser tab so that your website still stays on in the background. Even though you're sending them to something that is your own, I would still leave your website open in the background. And then the Contact Me page, we've got go ahead and call, go ahead and text, very good. Leave an answer on an answer machine, email, and it is a link this time, and also the form. And he's basically making a promise, and this is a great idea. He's making a promise to contact you back within 24 hours. And he's even going so far to say is, hey, if you haven't heard from me in 24 hours, make sure you check your spam folder because I'll get back to you. So this is great. Do understand that if you're going to make a commitment like this, you better meet the commitment. But this is a great thing to do because, come on, we've all had that experience. You fill out a form on somebody's website, and it's kind of like you're sending your stuff off into a black hole. You kind of hope that you are going to get a response, but often you don't, and all that kind of stuff. So the idea of going ahead and kind of making that promise and that commitment, very, very good. So all in all, I mean, especially considering that you're doing all this yourself, you're managing the WordPress and that, Bob, really, really good job. I hope that some of the things I've given you are things that you can implement because I think that they will streamline things a little bit for you. I think that they will improve the presentation. Before we move on, I want to take a quick run through Bob's social media. So first of all, we get to the Facebook page. What I don't get up at the top of the page is your simple logo. Put that logo on top of your timeline image. All of you need to do that. Don't just put on, when we're talking about your photography page and also your personal page, if you are being smart enough to market your photography and your personal page, that timeline top photo should have your logo on it. Even if your logo is just very simple text. Remember, Bob's logo is real simple text. It's super clean. It's super elegant. That's fine. But that's the brand. It should be on top of this image. If you're going to use your portrait in color on your website, use it in color on your social media. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to take a picture of yourself looking happy. So you're not going to use this picture anyway. But when you come back and you change it, you want the exact same image with the same treatment on every single social media and website that you do, period. Okay? So Facebook's telling us Bob usually replies in a few hours, which is really good. The pricing stuff here. Now, see, this contradicts your website, Bob, so you got to be careful of this. On your website, you told me that I could do weddings from like $1,200. Now it says from pounds. Now it says from 795 pounds. And also on the website, actually, it was all the way down to 495 pounds. So now I'm really confused. There's like stuff going on all over the place. And here's portrait shoots with a studio session for 95 pounds. I didn't see this on your website. So you definitely want to make sure that you've got, cohesive presentation across, all of your different social media. And then the other thing, when you do a post like this is like a statement. It doesn't really give me a reason to click on it. Tell me a little bit about the person. Tell me a little bit about what you did for her, etc. This one is nice because here you talk about the fact that you photographed this woman, you give a little bit of the background, you give a link to a blog post. That's awesome. That's exactly what you want to do. But this is kind of like, here it is. And that's it. So you need to make sure that all of these posts have a little bit of, of effort. So like, for instance, this post is great. This post, not so great. So again, you got to make sure you're putting, effort into it in that regard. Okay. Google Plus. Now at this point, we've got a different profile picture. We don't have your logo up top. So, you definitely want to get that stuff up there. I realize there's not a lot of action happening in terms of finding new clients on Google Plus. But again, Google Plus is important for your business. Make sure you're doing your business page on Google Plus, because that page can and will show up in search results. So it's very important. Instagram's got a lot of kind of snapshots on them. I would get some of your finished images on Instagram. I know for a fact that in England, just like here in the United States, brides are using Instagram. People are using Instagram for portraits. Brides are using Pinterest. Okay. So, these are things that you definitely want to consider them, marketing avenues as far as that goes. Your Tumblr is broken. I don't know what's up with your Tumblr, but all the images come up as broken links. And I refreshed this. I even turned off my ad blocker to make sure I didn't have a problem going on there. So check out your Tumblr, Bob, because that's not obviously making a good impression if somebody clicks on one of the links, because I got all these links from the bottom of your website. So these are all the links that you provided. Twitter, same thing. You're doing right in the sense that you've got your profile shot. It's the same, but you're going to change that. And even having this picture the same is good. So I've seen this now on 2 social media sites, but I want to see your business name, your logo up there. Also, I don't know that I would advertise your dyslexic first. That might make some people wonder about how good a photographer you are. So I would actually kind of take that word out. And then YouTube channel is very clean, very elegant, all that kind of stuff. But again, a lot of your YouTube channel is kind of behind the scenes stuff. So until you kind of figure out like what is your focus, and by the way, I really like that they featured this. I like this guy's channel, but this guy right here, yeah, I like that channel. So anyway, I would make sure that you are really using your YouTube channel to get you clients before you promote that. And of course, we already talked about the profile shot. So, okay. But, some really great imagery, Bob. Congratulations for running your own website. I would just encourage you kind of fine tune a little bit there. And I think you're going to have a great presentation to work with. Okay. All right. Oh, wait, there was another one. His Flickr. I forgot his Flickr. So, but now suddenly we're off to a picture, at the beach. And so, again, I'm not sure that I would include Flickr in your social media link, because really the people that are going to look for you on Flickr or find you on Flickr, they're like the same people that are here watching TogChat tonight. And you know how that crowd is. They're just, God, like who wants to deal with them, right? So I don't know that I would worry too much about the Flickr link. That's not really probably where you're going to get a lot of wedding clientele from, okay? All right, so just a real quick pause here. 2 things. Number 1, if you're still here and you're still watching and you find any value in this stuff that I do, please, guys, take a minute and share the website, or excuse me, share the channel, meaning hit that like button, share the fact that you're watching it on Twitter or on Facebook, and when TogChat is over, and I think you could actually do it now, but if not, when it's over, please leave a comment below the video. I don't know why YouTube does it. I mention this to folks every time, but unfortunately, all these great comments that you guys are leaving for me and all this discussion that's going on, as soon as TogChat's over, it disappears. Believe me, a lot of YouTubers are begging YouTube to find a way to kind of archive it with the video and keep it there, kind of like Facebook does, actually. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but if you watch back a live feed on Facebook, if you look for the settings, you can set it up so that the comments show up while you're replaying the video. The comments will show up as people put them in. So they'll show up at exactly the same time that people type the comments in. Unfortunately, all these comments and conversations you guys are having disappear when the video's over. So comments are greatly appreciated. If you are able to provide a little bit of support, I do have a Patreon channel where I have patrons that dedicate a couple dollars a month to help support what we're doing. That's not money that goes into my pocket. That is money that is being used to bring on additional staff so that I can do more things for you guys. And also, as I mentioned earlier, stay tuned until the end. I've got the 5 .space domain names to give away. And also, I've got a version of JPEG Mini It's the last license that I have to give away that I will hand out to you guys tonight. So stay tuned for that. Okay? So, gang, our next photographer, let me switch my screen over here and get ready for you, and I'll tell you a little bit of background on him. This is Oscar Spearman. Oscar is in Fayetteville, Georgia, so we're back on my side of the pond now. Remember, my 3 questions. So, Oscar's real name is Oscar Camejo. He goes by Oscar Spearman for his professional photography and video business. He's originally from Miami, but he's been living in Atlanta, Georgia for the last 17 years. Started shooting when he was a kid. Back around 2017, he started posting his stuff online, and people started contacting him about shooting professionally. And so from there, he started his business. Congratulations. So he currently works for a nonprofit organization as a videographer, a video editor, and then a photographer in their marketing department. His wife, which is worth noting, runs the business with him. His wife is Christina. Christina is a makeup artist. So she handles, obviously, the hair and the makeup. They get a lot of their work at this point through Facebook and through Instagram. The website he uses basically to showcase his work, to provide client access to view proofs, to download images if he turns on the download feature for a client, and also to allow clients to purchase prints and other things that might go along with that. Okay, what he would like me to help him accomplish. He wants to branch out into more beauty, editorial, and commercial work while still offering portraits and headshot services. He would like me to give him a hand with developing the brand to reflect just that. He wants to go full-time and be able to leave a legacy for his children. Well, cool. Well, first of all, Oscar, that's a great reason to do it. So for those of you that like the URL, Chad, if you could do me a favor, or actually, I'll do it here. I got it. I was going to have my assistant put it in, but I just realized I was right there. So there you go. There's the URL, guys, if you want to check out the website kind of at the same time. And by all means, feel free, open up another tab and leave me in the background. And that way you can wander around the website while you're listening to me. So first impressions, okay? That's where I always like to start is what do we see first, and what kind of catches my eye. So basically, when I first look at this page, there are 2 things that jump at me, and that's actually a really good thing, okay? So, number 1, his name. So, the name jumps out because, let's face it, the name is the brand. That's important. The other thing that hits me right away is the fact that this is an awesome image, okay? So, it's bold, it's striking. Personal opinion here, that's all this one is, Oscar. I'm not a big fan of the textured background thing. Textured backgrounds to me at any level, that's just stuff that doesn't need to be there. It's foo-foo. It's decoration. It just gets in the way. I want people to see my pictures and nothing else. Because let's face it, we can't control where people look, but we can sure try, right? So that's more of a personal opinion because you're going to find a lot of people that have very nice websites with some kind of light textures. The upside is I don't want that to be construed as me saying I think your texture is obnoxious. No, I think it's fine, but I think it would be equally as strong without it. Okay, I would argue that your logo is maybe a little bit big. Now, as much as I rewarded you a moment ago for saying, well, the first 2 things I see are the logo and the image, I think you could make that logo a little bit smaller. That brings the image up a little bit higher, etc. But I'm not going to tell you, it's horrible in that sense. I do like the fact that you've, got it clear here. You do fashion, editorial, commercial, portrait, photography. So all of that is very good. The I photograph great moments thing. I don't mind having a tagline because obviously I have a tagline. I shoot people, right? But it's almost like I can't see it. It's really small. So I think you either need to make it bigger or lose it. And if you want my honest advice, I actually like your logo. I like the simplicity of it. I'm not a big fan of serif fonts. So for those of you that aren't sure or haven't watched my marketing videos, A serif font is the fonts that have these little like fancy pieces on the ends, like this one. A sans serif font would be like these fonts here, where the ends are clean. I personally, so personal taste, I'm not a big fan of serif fonts. And the fact of the matter is, so here's where the science comes in. You do have to be careful with serif fonts because they can be harder to read, especially when they're small. So given that it's nice and big, I don't mind the serif font at all here. I think it works, very, very well. But my fear is going to be that if you make this tagline bigger, then we've got a lot of stuff going on up here. And I would be afraid that people are going to miss the fashion, editorial, commercial, portrait, etc. Okay. As far as the .com goes, it's okay. I would actually argue it doesn't need to be there. Now that I said that, let me rewind the clock 10 years. 10 years ago, I would not put up a logo without the .com on it, ever. But the world's evolved a lot more. And people have become more sophisticated in the way they use the web. So I'm not saying it's bad, but I do think you could actually, get rid of it. Because part of what we have to remember is as we reduce the size of this logo a little bit, you can't go too small because then that secondary line is going to be really hard to read, as would the .com be. So just some things to think about there. I don't know that the I photograph great moments is really helping you at all. So if we scroll down here, we see watermarks in the images. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a big fan of that, and a lot of you know that already. But we get a nice series of images, and then we get to the bottom, and we have the social media links. Ooh, we have a copyright notice done the right way. So you guys heard me talk earlier about the right way to do it. We have a back to the top link, which is nice since we scrolled all that way down. Powered by SmugMug and the login. So two things. Number one, get rid of the Powered by SmugMug, Oscar. I'm pretty sure that on all of SmugMug's paid plans, or maybe not on the really basic one, so at least check it out. But I do know that a lot of the SmugMug plans allow you to remove that link. At least I'm pretty sure they do. I know Squarespace does. I would hope SmugMug does. So now that I said that, I'm going to cross my fingers and I'm going to admit, you know what? I'm not positive the SmugMug does. But see if you can. If you can get rid of that link, get rid of it. The other one, if you can get rid of it, get rid of the login link. Again, that's just inviting people to try and hack. So if you have to leave it there, okay, you have to leave it there, but then make sure that you are using super difficult to crack username and passwords, okay? So I mentioned that I'm not a big fan of the watermarks for a couple reasons. Number one, what the hell does that say? Now, I can guess what it says because this is Oscar Spearman Photography, right? I get that. But seriously, look at that. You can't read that. And so it's just this white blotch on the picture. And where are you putting the watermarks? You're putting them in a really dark area. So that one, that one, that one, I can get those watermarks out literally in like 3 seconds with a healing tool or a clone stamp. Like they're not providing you any value. And you don't need to tell people that you took the picture when they're on your photography website. So you shouldn't be using watermarks, period. I'm not going to have that whole discussion now. Go watch my marketing videos, okay? But I will definitely say that as far as these images here, you need to get rid of it. Problem that I have too is then I get down here, and now I have a completely different watermark with a completely different logo, and then I have none. So you need to be consistent. That's really important. So that's simply a matter of just resaving those images. Get rid of the watermarks. It's on your website. Okay, that's the way to go. So let's hit the About Oscar and Christina page, okay? So we get to the page. It's simple. It's clean. You talk about your kids right out of the box, which I really like. Be careful about, and I'm not the writer. I suck at grammar, okay? So I hire people to check my grammar whenever I'm going to send out an article for something or that type of stuff. But we're Oscar and Christina. She's clearly the gorgeous one. To me, it sounds weird. And then in the third line, it's I'm. So you're kind of bouncing back and forth. So I would basically restructure this a little bit. I like the fact that you're talking a little bit about who you are, etc. But you go from, this is who we are. We have kids. This is where we're from. And this is how I got to here. And now you talk about the fact that you both run your business. And now you talk about where she came from. So it's a little jumpy, okay? So I would encourage you tweak this a little bit. If this is where you're going to introduce your tagline, that's cool. But if that tagline's important to you, I would find a way to present it a little bit better. I like the shots that you have. You both look like a lot of fun. That's really important. Lots of personality. All of that's really good. So that part of it's excellent. The only thing I would suggest is take this heading, Oscar and Christina, and these two photos and put them at the top. They should be first. Because, hey, we got two really good-looking people here that are a lot of fun. Put that first. We're in a visual business, gang. Okay? So move that up, let people see that, and then put the text underneath. Okay? And then at the end of the text, when you get to the bottom of the page, you're going to put a link to your portfolios. Okay? So like your sign-off is essentially kind of like, so take a look at our work. That's basically where you're signing off. Okay? So all the pieces are here. Just rearrange things a little bit, and I think it's going to be a lot stronger. So headshots and portraits. So the problem that I have here is the very first thing that I see is the picture that I saw on the homepage. In fact, I saw this picture on the homepage, and the watermarks are still here. So now I'm into a picture. Third picture in, I'm into a picture that I haven't seen before. So if you're worried about people not scrolling down on your homepage and missing those really good shots, because you've got some great shots on your homepage, what I would suggest is, let's go back out to the homepage here. I would suggest trying to put a slider up here at the top so that you don't have to scroll down on the page. So in other words, these pictures are going to come through as a slider. If you're still fearful that people aren't going to see your best pictures, then just have one picture on the homepage and don't have these pictures show up until you get into the galleries. But definitely, again, remove the watermarks. You can't have the different watermarks. The sliders are fine. There's another one we saw on the homepage. When you're doubling pictures like that, it makes it seem like you haven't done a lot of pictures and that you don't have a lot to show in your portfolio. Because remember, I'm always really pushing the idea, less is better. You can look like a hack with 5 pictures, or excuse me, you can look like a superstar, a rock star with 5 pictures, or a hack with 10. So you don't want to show every picture you've ever taken. But at the same time, you also don't want to be showing every picture twice or 3 times. So you've got to, really work to find that balance as far as that goes, okay? Because you've got some really nice stuff in here. So it's not like you only have 3 really good pictures and then it kind of sucks. So I think you can afford to make sure that the stuff's only being seen in one area. Family portraits, again, anything with watermarks, because in part also because you're not consistent. But I would encourage you, get rid of all the watermarks. Also, just a little note, and I'm being really picky, Oscar, but watch your cropping. It's cool to crop off the top of somebody's head in a portrait, but in a shot like this, we want to see the top of their head. So yeah, I'm the guy that's always cropping off the tops of heads, but in a shot like this, it actually feels a little bit awkward to be missing the top of his head. So do be careful of that stuff. I already did family portraits, then I asked. So senior portraits, I mean, yeah, we've got, you got really nice stuff here. So I would say maybe get some of these senior portraits up front. I realize the one picture of the young lady up front, the one shot of the young lady up front is probably a senior portrait. But based on what I'm seeing here, I would argue that it's maybe not one of your best ones. So get a really good one up front, okay? I just noticed something there. Let me back up. How did I miss that? So as I look at, I'm on the portraits and headshots. I want you all to pay attention to like the top part of the page here where the headings are. And by the way, I don't know that those brackets are really useful. They're okay, but they're not really adding anything. So that's portraits and headshots. This is family portraits. And then suddenly when I get to senior portraits, there's a buy button. Where'd the buy button come from and why is it there? So I have a feeling, so you're telling me like can I buy that picture? Wait, so if I'm just some random guy, I can buy, okay. So I don't know that I would do it this way, Oscar, and you could potentially get yourself in trouble here because I'm gonna assume that this young lady is a minor, under the age of 18, and you probably don't have a modeling release. She's probably a client that came to you and shot. So even though it's only 99 cents for like a 4x6 print, if I'm her parent, I don't want somebody buying a picture of her. So I'd be careful with this. I have a feeling this was just maybe kind of an oversight on your part in terms of, doing the settings. But I would be really careful. But anyway it goes, we shouldn't have a buy photos link there. That should not be a part of that page at all. Okay. And then the home link here, if you're going to have a home link, it needs to be over on the left. Or just get rid of it because people are pretty well trained at this point to click on logos. But if you feel the need to have a home link, get it over on the left. That's really important. And this shouldn't be part of your senior portrait gallery. So, and then it comes to that. So yeah, you got to work on that. I have a feeling that's kind of leftover stuff from maybe a different template that you use or that type of stuff, but make sure that you're keeping up with that. I do see a note here since I mentioned it. SmugMug lets you minimize power by SmugMug, but regardless of your power level, you can't remove the login link. And then Chad looked up for me here, the power and higher account users can remove the logo and also hide the header, minimize the footer, but that login link is going to stay. So, yeah, depending on how much money you're spending, that may not be an option then, but I would say if it's at all possible, I would get rid of it. I'm a big believer in the idea that you work very hard to get people to come to your website. You don't want to be giving them links to go elsewhere. That's always kind of my thought process, okay? But, all in all, Oscar, what you've got going on here is a really well put together website. It's clean, it's simple. Tweak your about page a little bit there and you're in great shape. The pictures of you and your wife, get them up to the top. You're a great looking couple and there's a lot of energy. Let's take a quick look at your social media, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about your big question for me, which was how can you expand your brand, so to speak, okay? And that's something I think that a lot of you are going to be interested in hearing about because, especially given some of the categories that he's discussed, you may be a little bit surprised about what I'm going to give him as an answer, okay? And then I will say that I'm probably going to run a couple minutes over tonight because I yapped too much. So if you guys have specific marketing questions, I'm not going to do camera and photography questions tonight. If you have marketing questions, go ahead and start typing them in the chat there. Chad's with me. He's watching the chat, and he will go ahead and type those in for me so that I don't miss them, and I'll try and get some of them answered before we sign off. So going to Oscar's social media, so here we get the tagline. Now the tagline comes up, and it's nice and big. So the only thing I would say to you here, Oscar, is I've got a different profile picture. I have a feeling it's probably from that same session, but I've got a different profile picture. So again, you either need to go color or you need to go black and white. And honestly, I would go color. I really would, okay? But I do see the logo at the top. That's great. Using this image as kind of a brand image for you would be totally fine, okay? Having the quote is fine. Having your website address on it, you need to move it up because it's behind your name, okay? So if you want your website address on there, that's fine. Move it up. What I would encourage you to do is I would make the logo a little bit smaller, or excuse me, not the logo, the quote a little bit smaller, so that it's really not any wider than the logo. You don't want to have all kinds of stuff kind of scrambled in there. And then if you want to have your URL in it, I would put it up right along the top up here. So maybe drop the logo down just a smidge, drop the quote down a smidge, and get the URL like right up here at the top, but small. It doesn't need to be big. Do make sure that when you're doing your post, this is nice in the oh, this is somebody shared it on your page. Okay, cool. So wait, don't let me critique that. So here's a shot of you getting ready for a thing. All right, so try and make sure that with your posts, you're giving a little bit more information. If it's stuff that you're out and doing, make sure that it sounds like you're having a lot of fun. Like showing gear, your photography buddies will be like, oh man, is that a C100 or whatever, okay? But the rest of the people that are going to hire you, because keep in mind, you're already hired for that job. That's your day job. This is your profile where you're advertising your photography services. So make sure you make it all about your photography services. And I realize this is your personal page, but you're being very smart that you're using your personal page to market your business. But you got to work really hard to keep it focused on your business, okay? We go to Twitter. The good thing here is we've got that consistency. It's the same profile picture. It's the same header image. But again, let's get the profile picture the same all the way across the board. Same on the website, same on your social media, all the way across the board. And then do be a little bit careful. I have a feeling this might be the exact same file that you uploaded to Facebook. If that's the case, you need to create different size files for each of the social media sites, okay? For those of you that don't know about all the different sizes, maybe a little incentive to join my Patreon group for just $2 a month as a supporter. So that's $24 a year for all the work that I do for you guys. You get access to an always updated database of all the appropriate image sizes for all the major social media sites. So in other words, if Facebook would decide to change the size of their timeline cover, it will update within 24 hours for you to be able to have the most current information. But you do need to have different formatted files for each of the different social medias. Don't use one and then resize and crop it, because we can see your name's cut off at the top here. And the first thing that I see in terms of all the text, it's your quote. It's not your name. Your name is your brand. Remember that. Your name is your brand. So that's something that needs to be, kind of a first and foremost thing. And then next up, Instagram. So we've got the same profile photo. That's good. I'm pretty sure that on the username, you can go ahead and capitalize like the O and the S and the P, and it's not going to change your username. I would encourage you to do that if you can, okay, so that it's a little bit easier to read there. And here it looks like we've got kind of a combination of your day work and some of your, personal projects. So kind of the problem that I have here is your Twitter, I don't see portrait stuff here. I don't see the beauty in the, and that stuff here. So you kind of have to decide, how do you want to use your Instagram? I keep saying Twitter, don't I? You have to decide how you want to use your Instagram. Do you want it to be more personal stuff? Do you want it to be, your business? Certainly for your personal business, which is what you're trying to build here, if you're a portrait photographer, don't keep leading with the fact that you're a video guy. That's the day job right now. And that's the job that's kind of paying the bills, and that's fine. But for a potential portrait client, don't keep reminding them that you got a day job. So I'm not saying you ever have to lie about it, but you certainly don't market that fact. So I would downplay that a little bit more, not use it quite as much, okay? On Pinterest here, we've got a nice Pinterest profile, with all of your stuff and a lot of watermarks, but, this is well done. It looks like it's very active. You got a lot going on here. However, here's where it goes south, okay? When I get down to here, posing models. Oh, Oscar's going to teach me how to pose models. So I click, wow, that's like a really cool picture. Oh, it's from Victoria's Secret. It's not from Oscar. And here I thought I could have Oscar take that picture for me. So the thing that you got to do with this stuff that you're doing as idea boards for you or resource boards for you, you need to make these private boards, or secret boards, excuse me. That's the term that Pinterest uses, is secret boards. But you definitely want to make that stuff disappear. When somebody comes to your Pinterest page, all they find, like maternity portrait ideas, this is basically Oscar saying, yeah, I don't have many good ideas for maternity portraits, so let me go to Pinterest, right? We all do it. I do it. Everybody does it. Everybody that doesn't do it, or excuse me, anyone that doesn't do it is really being pretty stupid, actually. It's a great place for ideas. But don't advertise that fact. So, yeah, make those boards secret, kind of get rid of those, okay? All right, so that being said, gang, remember Okay. Oh, wait, I still have to talk about Oscar's beauty stuff, but real quick here, since I was going to click on this. If you have a website and you would like to get it reviewed and get some feedback, remember it's tog.chat/web review. The link is in the description section below. So the one question that Oscar had asked me is he wants to branch out and do more beauty, editorial, and commercial work. Okay. So here's the thing that you guys need to kind of understand about that. So his site right now is basically geared towards portraits and headshots. And it's pretty concise in that. In other words, when we look at his site, that's exactly the message that we get. That's the impression that it gives us. So no surprises, no confusion there. So beauty, editorial, and commercial, those are three words that everybody loves. So you guys all know, if you've looked at my work, you know that I do a lot of the beauty stuff. That's kind of what I was known for before. So here's the bad news. And I've talked about this openly. This is not a big secret. The bad news is that I have made very little money in my career shooting beauty. Now, there's a reason for that. The beauty that you see on my website, you don't see that in advertising anywhere. You don't see it in magazines. You don't see it in ads. So the only people that have ever paid me to do those kind of pictures are some people with a lot of disposable income that wanted essentially a modern version of the old 1980s glamour shots. Remember those? Okay. Magazines don't, contact us for that. They don't pay for that stuff because you don't see that stuff in ads. So beauty shots in magazines, those are like makeup ads and that kind of stuff. And if you want to shoot that, you need to move to New York or LA, because that's where that stuff's happening. So could you, pick up a gig like that in, Atlanta? Yeah, maybe for a smaller company, but probably not. So editorial, Oscar, if you're talking about editorial as in fashion editorial, there's no money in fashion editorial. There's literally not. You could be published like literally next month doing fashion editorial as long as you realize you're not getting paid. There's fashion magazines all around the world that will take your images if you submit them on spec and print them. But you're not going to get any money for them. Literally, you get a byline. That's what you get. The only people that are getting paid, again, for fashion editorial, they're in the major cities. They're in New York. They're in LA. They're in the fashion capitals. They're in Paris. They're in London. They're in Milan. But outside of that, there's very little money in fashion editorial. There just isn't. And in the commercial side, if you're going to start doing commercial side, if we're talking product work, then build a separate website. If we're talking commercial as in like models and that kind of stuff, nobody's going to be impressed when they see that on your website. You're just going to talk about it. So it's no different than if you look at, keep in mind, for 15 years, I was paying my bills by shooting modeling portfolios. But you look at my website, it doesn't look like that. People will always contact you for that really cool stuff. Like that black and white shot that you have in the front of your website, Oscar, I assure you, that will get you business. But nobody's going to contact you unless they have a lot of disposable income. But no advertiser is going to contact you and say, yeah, I need a picture just like that. It's not going to happen because you don't see that stuff in ads. That's the point. So if you reach out to me, Oscar, after this goes live and give me a little bit more of a specific background on what you're talking about with beauty, editorial, and commercial, so I have a better understanding of exactly what you're hoping to do, I can fine-tune that a little bit more. But bottom line, if the commercial work, if you're talking like products and advertising work, build a separate website. That's the short answer. It's real simple. On the beauty and the editorial, if you're hoping to try and get published and all that kind of stuff, you don't really need a website for that. You're gonna go direct to the outlets. You're gonna submit to them. You're not gonna build a website and hope that these places find it and then come to you. That's not gonna be the way to do it at all. Okay, all right, guys. So I've got some good questions hanging in here. So let me switch over. I'm going to try and answer some of your questions. So Doug Thompson's got a question for me. By the way, Doug, it was great to meet you out in Vegas at WPPI. It's always fun when I get to meet people who I talk to regularly on the internet. Doug is asking me, would it be advisable to contact local PR firms and offer my photography services? If you do event work, hell yes. Networking, so actually, before I say that, let me back up half a step. There is no substitute when it comes to marketing for human interaction. The internet is not a substitute for human interaction. The internet can speed things up. The internet is a great way to cover a lot of ground very quickly. But if you're going to be successful as a photographer, especially if you're a photographer that photographs people, you better talk to people. The sooner you have conversations with people and actually interact with people, the better. So good old-fashioned networking, Doug, says yes. Reaching out to PR firms, anyone that would potentially use that service is absolutely worth contacting. Other things that can be a good thing to do, if you're making the money that you want to make, don't take this next suggestion. But if you're just starting your business out and you're looking to build your business, every town has charity events. Hospitals run charity events. There's always all kind of big charity events. Go and volunteer to shoot one or two of them for free. Go ahead and be entrepreneurial and figure out a way where, let's say it's like a 5K charity run. Offer to photograph it for free for the event organizers with the terms that you can hand out little business cards. And then what you do is you go to Staples, you get these really cheap business cards printed and hand them out during the race to people and tell them, hey, after the race, if they'd like to get a picture of themselves running, they can go to this website and buy it. And then use a site like SmugMug or Pixie Set or one of those. And maybe you'll make a couple bucks for it. So maybe you'll still make a little money. But the whole reason for doing it is getting known and being seen in your area. So if your business is going great and you're making what you need to be making and that kind of stuff, then you don't need to do that. But if you're just getting started out, you're trying to build a name for yourself, oh, hell yes. It's a great way to do it because it's networking. But talking to PR firms, and even for that matter, Doug, if you're in a small town, go to the Chamber of Commerce. Consider joining the Chamber of Commerce for a year. Chamber of Commerce is in most towns. I will say this, and I'll get shot by some people for this, but in most towns, the Chamber of Commerce is grossly overpriced for their membership. Grossly overpriced. They got to survive. They got to pay their bills. I get it, but I'm sorry for most photographers, you're not going to get enough out of a Chamber of Commerce membership to justify being in a Chamber of Commerce year after year after year after year. But I would say if you're just starting out, join the Chamber of Commerce for a year. Save your pennies, join the Chamber of Commerce, go to every meeting that you can possibly go to. Get to know people because they're business owners. They are business owners that will potentially need photographers. So, that kind of stuff, don't underestimate the power of the Chamber of Commerce. At a minimum, if you are a photographer who's looking to do event work or even maybe to do advertising work, and especially if you're in a small town, you should be studying the Chamber of Commerce website aggressively because every Chamber of Commerce website, even in a small town, is going to brag incessantly about all the great companies that are headquartered in that town. So those are the places that you need to be reaching out to and you need to be contacting or at least have them on your radar looking to find a contact there. Because once you know that company name, especially like let's say you have a big corporation that's headquartered where you're at, like not that I would contact them, but Olympus USA is 5 miles from where I'm sitting right now, okay? So let's just say I was trying to find a marketing contact in Olympus USA. 10 to 1, I'm not going to find that contact on their website. But since I know where they're located, now I can go to LinkedIn and I can start searching on LinkedIn and I can probably find the marketing person on LinkedIn. So again, you've got to be a little bit resourceful, but absolutely. Charity events, Chamber of Commerce stuff, all that type of stuff is very, very, very useful for any photographer that's doing event work, commercial advertising, product work, all that kind of stuff. Really, really useful. Okay? So Jarek is asking me, do I know how specifically Google uses G+ profiles to position a site? Is it, for example, the more posts you have, the better, or is it working differently? Jarek goes, full disclosure, do I know exactly how? No. I can tell you that the things that Google has made it very clear and very obvious that they put value on are reviews. That's the big one. So I mentioned before, gang, that Jarek's kind of following up to the comment that I made about having a Google Plus profile. Google Plus as a social media website is basically dead, okay? Google, by their own admission, has announced they are essentially disassembling, and no, that's not beer. It was apple juice, by the way. They are disassembling, Google Plus as a social media platform. It's pretty much done. But as what Google does routinely, they will take products that they've built and then decide to end, and they'll repurpose pieces of it elsewhere. So the business pages are still a viable factor. And if you search, you can try it in your own town. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, do a search for wet infect here. We'll try this. Let me see. You should never do this live. So let me see real quick if it's going to work. And that way I'll show all of you instead of telling you, which would be so much better yet. Yep, it did work. So let me switch over here. So I did a quick search for wedding photographers in Allentown, okay, which is where I'm at, Allentown, Pennsylvania. So if we look at the Google search results page here, let me get rid of Evernote real quick. We've got 3 ads at the top, so forget those. Now, these are the Google Plus pages. So if I click on one of these links, I'm going to open it in a... well, if it'll let me, I'm going to open it in a new tab. Ooh, it won't even let me. Look at that. So it's just going to take me. So now, okay. By clicking on that, Google's keeping me. So these are all the Google Plus page results. So what I want you to see here, though, Jarek, now I'm finally getting to your answer. Notice the top one has 4 reviews. Now, the second one does have 17, so they've got more. But then we go kind of down 3, 2, 2, 2, no reviews, and it trails off. So one of the things that's pretty consistent is Google will definitely prefer pages that have more reviews, okay? So that's a big part of kind of, what you're looking for. Beyond that, obviously Google doesn't advertise what their exact algorithms are, etc. Goes without saying, if you are trying to get hired as a wedding photographer, then your Google Plus page should certainly mention that you do weddings, all that kind of stuff. But basically, make sure it's complete, which means it should have your address. If you work out of your home, like I do, and let's say you're trying to do your Google Plus page because you're a wedding photographer, and you don't want to put your home address, all that's understandable, then go spend a couple bucks a month and go ahead and put or get a P.O. box, okay, and use the P.O. box for an address, okay? But they want, complete information wherever possible. And it's kind of important that you do that because if you're not careful, it is possible for people on Google Plus to add information to your profile. So take a few minutes with Google Plus, read what it's all about, read how it works, pay attention. But the biggest thing is get the reviews. And by the way, guys, I hear photographers all the time, it's like, yeah, I need to get those reviews. And the problem is they're afraid to call a client up and say, hey, I worked for you last year and you seemed really happy with the images. Would you be willing to write a testimonial for me? People hate having to go back and ask for that, okay? Because it's basically like saying, hey, will you tell the world like I'm the most amazing guy ever? Everybody hates doing that. Give them something for it. So if you're a wedding photographer, you should call them, ask them for a testimonial, and offer them an 8x10 print. What's it going to cost you? $3 or $4, right? Sure, you were selling those 8x10 prints, hopefully for about $50 or $75 when you did their wedding, but you're giving it to them as a gift. They think they're getting a $50 print. And it's going to cost you $3 or $4 for a testimonial that you can now use to market yourself. Testimonials are easy to get. They're really, really easy to get. Don't tell people what to write. Let them write in their own words. If they say to you, well, what should I say? Just tell people, say, hey, don't lie. Tell people what it was like to work with me. If you had fun or if there was something about the work that you like, just, if you can give me a sentence or two, that would be great. And you'll be amazed. Some people, they'll write like novels. You'll literally have to edit it. And by the way, if somebody writes you a novel of a testimonial and you realize it's too long and you're going to edit it, make sure you do the edit and never change their words. But, make sure you cut out the stuff you want to cut out and then email it back to them and say, hey, your testimonial was like amazing. Like way more than I ever expected. Thank you so much. And I'm going to use it. But over on this website, I have to keep it shorter. So are you okay if I trim it down, to this? So that's basically how you want to approach that. Okay. So let's see. What else do we got here? Jarek, you're looking on working on a best hosting provider. Use the company that I use, Jarek. Their information will be in the description below. It may be there now. I should know if it is or not. I'm sorry. The company is called SiteGround. I will tell you, in fact, they're Eastern European, which I think is kind of close to your neck of the woods. Okay, that's where they're headquartered. They have servers all over the world. So like I use, their US based servers. It's a company called SiteGround. I will tell you, I don't make any money, but I do get some bonuses in my hosting. So please do use my link. It would be greatly appreciated, but check them out at least. They are extremely reasonably priced. I have had excellent service from them. I've been with them for, I want to say going on 4 years now. I host my blog with them. My website, my portfolio website is with Format, which is a template company that's in Toronto, Canada. I've talked about them. But up until the time that I went with the template, I did the same thing that Bob Foyer did. I had a WordPress website. I still maintain my blog as a WordPress website. And then my other website that I tell you guys about with the modeling stuff, modelingtip.com, that's also a WordPress site that I host with SiteGround. I highly recommend them. Customer service is awesome. Uptime, outstanding. I've had literally no problems along the way, with them at all. They've been great. Wow, Troy, seriously, thank you. SiteGround, I'll give them credit. They keep it simple. Like really, it's what it comes down to. They keep it simple. They've got all the same bells and whistles as a company like GoDaddy or any of those other big companies, but they keep it simple. They're really easy to work with. Their customer support is like 24/7. It's like right on the money. So I would encourage you to go ahead and check them out. So gang, let me just see if I missed any other questions here real quick because I want to give out those prizes. And, Bjorn, you were excited that you can change your last name. You thought it was sacrilege to change your last name to suit your brand. I wouldn't say it's sacrilege, but I mean, as long as it's the name that you're going to go under and that's how people know you, yeah, that's fine. I just discourage people from doing the my name's Joe and I want to be a photographer, so I'll call my business Sunny Side Up Photography. Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Like nothing. So I've probably just insulted some photographer now that uses that business name. But so yeah, if it's a matter like you think your name's either hard to pronounce or your name's hard to spell or whatever, and you want to simplify it, hell yeah, go ahead. Just be consistent. So don't have your personal Facebook page with your long, hard to pronounce name and be trying to market your photography there. And then, have your website or another profile where it's your, short name and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So here's what I would like for you guys to do for me. I'm going to sign off in just a second. So this chat window that you're all talking to me in right now, it will stay live for actually about another 15 or 20 minutes. You'll still be able to type things in. So remember, I've got 5 free 1-year registrations for .space domains, and I've got 1 pro license. That's the full license for JPEG Mini. So that's the one where you get the standalone desktop version of JPEG Mini where you can drag your files like in bulk into it, and it will compress them. And then it comes with the Lightroom plugin and the Photoshop plugin. And the great thing with the plugins, it's one click. So if you've ever done like the file save for web feature in Lightroom or Photoshop, you got to go through a couple clicks and steps. JPEG Mini, right there where you're working on your PSD file with all your layers and everything else. When you're done, resize it to the size you want it, hit save, boom, there it goes. Okay, it's like super awesome program. And just for those of you that don't know why I'm so excited about JPEG Mini, by the way, Google puts a tremendous amount of emphasis on page speed. They want a fast, easy, quick surfing experience, especially for mobile devices. So the problem of it is with all these big pictures, photographers, it's tough. If you have a website and it's full of articles, it's easy. Text doesn't take up any space. But as far as photos, they eat up a lot of space. So you need to be able to compress those photos down as much as you possibly can. Okay, that's what JPEG Mini does, and it does it better than Photoshop, better than Lightroom, better than anything else that's out there. It'll take your files down as much as 80% without any visible loss in quality. It's really, really great stuff. So what I want you to do, You know what, Greenlight? I just see your question, and I do need to wrap up, but I'll tell you what. I will promise you that as part of my tips next Thursday, I'll talk about the Facebook business pages, okay? I'll make sure that I get some really good tips for you guys for Facebook business pages. So make sure you check back next Thursday, okay? So here's what I want you guys to do. If you want one of the domain names, or if you want that last license of JPEG Mini, what I would like you to do is, as soon as I say goodbye in about 30 seconds, in the comment section, or excuse me, in the chat window where you're at now, all you have to do is tell me one thing that you learned tonight. So post it in there, one thing, and I'm going to go through it a little bit later tonight, and I have a little program that will randomly, from the people that gave me the answers, it's going to pick the 5 winners for the domain and the 1 winner for JPEG Mini, okay? So tell me something that you learned tonight. Leave it in that chat window. And then please, if you haven't already, remember, like the video, share it, leave a comment in the actual comment section. Look for the video about WPPI and photo conventions this weekend. And then the cool part, next week, back to photo tutorials. I'm like dying to get back and do tutorials about photography. So thank you guys for hanging out and watching. The weekend's coming, so that means get the damn camera out. Go take pictures. Remember, your best shot, it's your next shot, guys. So please, until next time, keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios, gang.